The story begins with a beautiful little girl, Spoya, standing in her room. When a young boy, Cyril, bows respectfully to her, he begins his life as her butler. The boy reincarnated into an Otome game, the Expressivo, a world of light and dark, with one clear mission: save his favorite character, the tragic villainess Lady Sophia, from her fated execution. Cyril recalls his past life in a technologically superior world where he studied magic. And the little 6-year-old girl is Sophia Rosenberg, the daughter of a marquis and the prince's fiancée. Cyril knows that when Sophia turns 16, the prince shifts his feelings toward the game's main heroine, and this change drags Sophia into darkness. Her jealousy becomes overwhelming, pushing her to target the heroine, and the price eventually uncovers her actions. This discovery leads to her execution, along with the butler who assists her in those villainous acts. Cyril carries this knowledge because his sister was an avid gamer who forced him to play this specific Otome game. He reveals with a heavy resolve that the butler executed beside Sophia is himself. He decides he must do everything possible to escape that future. He believes avoiding his own death would be easy, but saving Sophia becomes the real challenge. He admits she is his favorite character because beneath her villainous role lies a gentle heart, and her sad backstory of being alone and harassed by maids. He decides he must save her as well, and continues with a renewed purpose. To change her fate, he needs to stop her personality from twisting by removing the source of her misery. The gentle butler also plans to increase her charm so the prince does not turn toward the main heroine. He knows another major problem will appear later, but his focus for now is to win Sophia's trust and guide her away from darkness as soon as he can. In the original story, he becomes her butler at 15, which is far too late, so he adjusts his plan. With his game knowledge and natural ability, he proves himself and earns the role of apprentice butler when he is only 6. Back in the room, Sophia grows curious and asks what a butler is, and Cyril describes it as someone who handles everything for her and stays by her side. She asks if he will always remain with her. He nods that he will protect her anywhere and at any time. She curiously asks if he will celebrate her birthday, and he agrees, promising to celebrate it every year. Then, like a gentleman, he fixes his suit, offers her a single perfect rose, and wishes her a happy 6th birthday. Sophia accepts the rose with bright joy and thanks him. Cyril feels he has taken the first step toward changing her fate. He turns his attention to the next urgent problem: removing the maid who constantly harasses Sophia and isolates her from the rest of the household. The scene shifts to Sophia running to him in tears after being mistreated again. The butler comforts his milady. She tells him about the maid. The maid denies everything, claims Sophia only tripped, and accuses her of lying. Other maids whisper that Sophia is dishonest, as the same incident happened earlier. The head maid's expression grows sharp as she scolds Sophia. The young girl is shocked as she insists she tell the truth. Cyril steps in front of milady and warns the maids that a servant of the Rosenberg family must never betray their master. The maid dismisses Cyril's intervention, claiming that Sophia is just throwing a tantrum. He calmly replies that it's clear the maid is taking out her own frustrations on Sophia by cornering her with lies. The maid scoffs and asks who would believe a young boy over a long-serving, trusted maid. Cyril answers that the question of trust doesn't matter. What matters is that a servant who betrays their master is unforgivable. At that moment, guards appear and arrest the maid. She cries out in shock and asks what is happening. He shows an official letter and reveals that he and the head butler, Cedric, have investigated her and found her guilty of stealing from the household. The maid is shocked by the accusation. Cyril tells her that it's useless to pretend she doesn't know, since he knows she's been inflating the cost of supplies. He tells her that she will spend the rest of her life as a criminal slave. The maid protests, saying it was only a small amount. He asks her if she really thinks that is a small amount and questions her math skills. He shows a document as proof and tells her that she also hurt Sophia's reputation by calling her a liar. Cyril inquires if she still thinks she's more trustworthy than him or Sophia now that everyone knows she's been stealing. He says she has betrayed Marquise's trust in the worst way. The maid's face fills with fear as the sharp boy tells her that she must leave the mansion. The guards take her away. He turns to Sophia and gently reassures her that everything is fine now because the maid is gone for good. Sophia hugs him tightly, relieved, and thanks him, tears in her eyes, for always believing her. Cyril calmly replies that it was the right thing to do. From that day, Cyril devotes himself to raising Sophia to be a dignified lady of the Rosenberg family. He teaches her everything from posture and dance to violin and embroidery. He even teaches her magic and self-defense. Sophia learns without complaint over the next 6 years. Now a graceful young lady, Sophia asks Cyril to brush her hair. As he prepares the hairbrush, he realizes her 12th birthday is soon. Sophia wonders if her parents will be able to celebrate with her. The gentle butler reassures her that it's okay if they are busy because she has their gifts and messages, and most importantly, she has him by her side. Cyril notices that the lonely girl from the game no longer exists. He tells Sophia that the entire staff joins him in wishing her a happy birthday. Sophia blushes and says that having him celebrate with her is the happiest thing. Cyril bows in Milady's honor. As he leaves her room for the night, he feels confident that he has kept her from falling into darkness and given her the charm to captivate the prince. But he knows one last challenge remains. The first prince's birthday party is coming, and at this event, Sophia is fated to meet the second prince, who will fall in love with the main heroine. In the original story, the second prince saves the heroine from a nobleman at the party. They don't know each other's identities, but they feel a connection that grows when they meet again at the academy. Cyril vows to stop that meeting from ever happening. He knows that this is the critical moment to secure Sophia's future and ensure the prince never leaves her. The scene shifts to Sophia, now 12, dressed in a beautiful gown, who asks Cyril why he is walking behind her. She reminds him that as her escort, he should walk proudly by her side. He is surprised by her request. He realizes it is unusual for a common butler to serve as a noble lady's escort. Usually this role is for a family or a fiancé. He understands that the Marquise chose him because he doesn't trust anyone else and feels safer when he is by her side. Sophia interrupts his thoughts by asking if she looks beautiful. Cyril assures her that she seems captivating. Sophia thinks to herself that as long as Cyril sees her that way, no one else's opinion matters. She then asks if he finds her beautiful too, and he smiles, saying that he has fallen under her spell. Nearby guests admire her beauty, intelligence, and grace. They chatter that the rumors about her beauty were true. He smiles, proud of their entrance. Just then, a young man with white hair politely asks the butler to pass. Cyril whispers to Sophia about this young guy. He is the second prince, Alforth, who introduces himself simply as Al to hide his true identity. The prince asks about her. She bows and introduces herself as the daughter of Marquis Rosenberg. Cyril watches with pride, knowing that his 6 years of effort have led to this moment, where Sophia's first love can finally begin. The prince then nervously asks Sophia for a dance. Cyril panics because she is supposed to dance with her escort first. Refusing a prince could hurt her reputation. Sophia looks at Cyril for guidance. He gives her a subtle nod of encouragement. She decides to accept. She tells the prince she will dance with him for one song and that she will return soon. As they head to the dance floor, Sophia politely tells Sir Al that she looks forward to the dance, and he nervously agrees. Onlookers admire the beautiful couple at the center of the ballroom, wondering who Sophia's handsome partner is. The prince and Sophia dance gracefully together under the admiring gazes of the crowd. The cute young girl blushes as she looks at the handsome prince. Cyril watches from a distance as they dance, feeling a sense of accomplishment that Milady's villainous fate no longer exists. He sees her happily dancing with the prince and considers his main goal fulfilled. But then, he notices a nobleman bothering another young woman and realizes there is still one more thing he must do. Cyril observes the situation and reflects that by changing Sophia's fate, he has also saved himself from his own inevitable execution. He steps in to stop the nobleman, who tries to persuade the young woman to leave the party with him. Cyril firmly tells the man to stop, as the young woman is clearly uncomfortable. The nobleman gets angry and asks what gives Cyril the right to speak to him like that. He demands to know if our guy knows he is the son of Count Reed. Cyril calmly threatens to report the nobleman's behavior to his father, which silences the man. The nobleman walks away in frustration, and Cyril turns to check on the young lady. The girl he rescued is Alicia, the game's heroine. The gentle butler realizes that by diverting the prince's attention to Sophia, he inadvertently took the prince's place in this key scene. Alicia thanks him nervously. Cyril checks if she is all right, feeling guilty that she might turn to the dark side if left alone. The girl shyly introduces herself as Alicia, Linbel's daughter. She looks at him with curiosity and asks for his name. The young hero is surprised by her question because in the game, she and the prince were supposed to part ways without ever learning each other's names. He introduces himself as just Cyril, a butler, trying to downplay his role. Alicia seems intrigued by his name. She quickly reassures him that his being a butler does not bother her at all, since her family is not from high nobility. Cyril apologizes for making her feel awkward, and she explains that she doesn't know anyone else at the party and shyly asks if he would be willing to dance with her. Cyril is surprised by her request because in the game, the heroine's first dance doesn't happen until much later, and it is unusual for a noble's daughter to have never danced before. He knows that in their society, it is frowned upon for a woman to ask a man to dance, but he can't refuse and embarrass her. So, he reluctantly agrees. They begin to dance, drawing the curious gaze of a nearby nobleman and his companion. He maintains a polite smile, but is internally confused by the unexpected turn of events. Alicia proves quite clumsy and accidentally steps on his foot, but Cyril tells her it is fine as she apologizes. She continues to apologize repeatedly as they stumble through the dance moves, clearly embarrassed by her mistake. To calm her down, Cyril suggests she take a deep breath and tries to distract her by asking about her family's territory. Alicia's face brightens as she describes her homeland, a beautiful place with fields of flowers. The young boy feels his heart flutter and tells her that she looks even more wonderful when she smiles, which makes her blush. As the music plays, the young boy wonders if the prince also had his feet stepped on during their dance. The music ends with a final flourish, and as the other couples applaud, Cyril politely bows to Alicia. Cute girl thanks him for the dance. Suddenly, a voice from behind calls the butler. A breathless Sophia appears, looking distressed. Cyril is surprised and tells her she didn't need to search for him. She reminds him that she asked him to wait for her and questions why he didn't follow her simple instruction. He kneels to apologize, thinking she is upset about her dance with the prince. He assumes that the prince must have stepped on her feet, given her aggressive tone, but Sophia glares at him with a sharp expression and demands angrily to know why he won't look at her. Cyril freezes in shock as he realizes her words are the same ones she speaks to the prince in the game just before her descent into darkness. Now, they are directed at him, and a horrifying thought crosses his mind. Has he somehow stolen the prince's role in this twisted story? Sophia, with a pained expression, reminds the boy of his promise to always stay by her side. Her jealousy bursts out as she asks if the girl he was dancing with is better than her. Cyril tries to explain that he was just helping Alicia out of a difficult situation. Alicia confirms his story, but Sophia clings to the idea that Cyril is a kind boy. This realization sends him into a panic as he sees his worst fears coming true. Sophia looks at him with a possessive glint in her eye and says she would prefer if he reserved his kindness only for her. He chokes in disbelief. He now understands beyond a doubt that Sophia has developed romantic feelings for him, a love doomed by their difference in social status. The dark side flag he thought he had destroyed has come back stronger as he sees Sophia growing jealous of Alicia. Cyril takes a deep breath and tries to assess the chaotic situation he has caused. He briefly thinks that even if she turns to the dark side, she is skilled enough to eliminate her target without getting caught. Then, the terrifying reality of his situation hits him like a ton of bricks. He realizes that since the heroine would never fall for him, he is the one who incurs Sophia's jealousy. He recalls that in every game route, Sophia becomes jealous and commits evil acts, no matter who the love interest is. This means she will inevitably turn to the dark side. Cyril understands with dawning horror that by taking the prince's place, he has made himself the sole target of her rage. The young hero is terrified, knowing he is the one who will be eliminated. Cyril reflects on his reincarnation into the world of the Espressivo of Light and Darkness, the Otome game in which he is reborn as the butler to the Villainess, Lady Sophia. He uses his knowledge of the game to try to stop the events that will lead to her execution. It begins when she and the prince fall in love at a party. Despite his efforts, the party ends with Alicia, the heroine, asking him for a dance, and a shocked Sophia demanding to know why he isn't looking at her. Cyril wonders how everything has gone wrong and why Sophia has become so focused on him instead of the prince. Standing outside the Grand Rosenberg mansion, Cyril knocks and enters the study to meet Sophia's father. Inside, Glaive, the family's serious head, is writing at his desk. He glances at the young boy once and continues writing. After some time, he asks Cyril why he waits to interrupt when he knows he is there. Cyril explains that he sees his master glance his way, so he knows the master is aware of his presence. Glaive seems impressed by Cyril's sharpness and says it is because of his training as a personal butler since he was 6. Then the Lord moves on to the topic of the party. He praises Cyril's role as Sophia's escort, which makes Cyril nervous. Glaive thanks him for his service, but he humbly declines any reward, saying he fails because Sophia has to leave the party early. He takes the blame for making her feel unwell and causing her disgrace. Glaive casually brushes it off, saying that many children leave early, and her departure isn't an issue. In fact, he says, it is probably for the best because her dance with the second prince has attracted too much attention from the guests. When Cyril asks why that is a problem, Glaive's eyes light up with pride. He explains that his daughter dances with the grace of an angel. The Lord continues praising Sophie's beauty. Cyril feels relieved that Sophia's reputation is still intact, but he still feels he has failed her as her escort. Glaive looks at him with curiosity about how a child can be so adorable. Then Glaive changes the subject and asks Cyril what he thinks of the second prince. Cyril is surprised, realizing it is more than just a question about the prince's interest in Sophia's beauty. Glaive admits he is considering a betrothal between Sophia and the second prince, and asks Cyril for his opinion to help him decide. He hesitates, feeling it isn't his place to comment, but the Lord insists, saying his opinion will be helpful. Cyril knows this conversation is important. What Glaive decides could shape Sophia's future, and he has to be careful with his answer. Cyril's mind drifts between his original plan to unite Sophia and the prince and his new understanding of Sophia's feelings for him, which he cannot ignore. He reminds himself that his main role is that of an apprentice butler. With a renewed sense of purpose, he tells Glaive that his duty is to lead Sophia to happiness and that her own feelings about a potential marriage should be the top priority. Glaive lets out an intrigued hum, clearly surprised by Cyril's bold response. He questions the idea of asking his daughter's opinion on a political marriage. The butler firmly replies that his only wish is for Sophia's happiness. The Lord smirks and calls his answer dull. Yet a faint magical glow flickers from his hand. In a surprising twist, Glaive declares that he has passed his test and officially appoints him as a full-fledged personal butler. The boy is stunned but humbly kneels to accept the promotion. Lord explains that the test was about Cyril's character, and now he feels he can trust him with Sophia's care. He then hands Cyril an entrance notice to Lord Bell Royal Academy so he can accompany Sophia. He accepts the papers without hesitation, declaring that he will become a student to stay by his lady's side, as he is her personal butler. Later, Cyril helps Sophia study for her exams, praising her for correctly applying a complex formula. He knows that while passing the exam will be easy for her, she must score the highest to uphold her family's honor. He reflects that he has no time to celebrate his promotion because the real challenges begin at the academy. There, he must guide Sophia's path to happiness by steering her away from the darkness he knows awaits her. He is aware that the academy is the perfect place to correct their course, but he must stay focused on one particular threat. He recalls a side story from the game that explains Alicia will join the academy later, so she won't be in the junior division, which gives Cyril some relief. Sophia suddenly snaps him out of his thoughts, playfully asking if he's the one nervous about passing the entrance exams. He gestures in reply, and she teases him back, suggesting that he is the one on shaky ground. He realizes that she is no longer bothered by the events of the party. As they head to the academy, he knows the next 3 years will be crucial in setting things right. On the day of the entrance exam, they arrive at the magnificent Bell Royal Academy. Cyril tells Sophia that he needs to check the seating arrangements, and she eagerly asks to join him. He insists that she wait with her maid, Ruth, for safety reasons, before hurrying off into the crowded building. As he makes his way through the people, he finds their assigned classroom at the far end of the hall. While navigating the crowd, he accidentally bumps into a young maid and quickly apologizes. The maid politely insists it was her fault, and after confirming neither is hurt, she excuses herself to return to her mistress. He returns to Sophia and Ruth, and from a distance notices the same maid he bumped into earlier, now speaking with Alicia. She is being congratulated for convincing her parents to let her attend. Alicia smiles with quiet determination, saying that she could not give it up. Cyril informs Sophia that they will be in the same classroom for the test. She immediately asks him, with a hint of suspicion, about the girl he was looking at earlier. A flustered Cyril tries to dismiss her concern by saying it was just a harmless maid, but Sophia clenches her fists, showing that his answer did not reassure her. Cyril watches her with concern, thinking that he may have made her anxious since she is not accustomed to being in such public settings. He then assures her that there is no need to worry, because he will always be there to protect her. She asks him to confirm if he will truly always be by her side. He gently takes her hand and reaffirms his promise to protect her no matter what happens, just as he did when they were younger. Sophia looks at him with complete trust, holding his hand tightly, and declares that she will never forget his promise. Now feeling much more secure, she thanks him with a warm smile and suggests they should head into the classroom for the exam. Inside, they are met with noisy confusion as nobles and commoners asking each other questions about the unfamiliar rules. Sophia and her maid Ruth are both surprised by the arrangement, with Ruth remarking that it's rare to see the social classes integrated like this. Cyril observes that the Academy's rule against flaunting social status is strictly enforced from the entrance exam onward. He reflects that even with such regulations in place, one must always decide whether to treat someone as an equal or to assert one's own status. As other students begin to notice Sophia's presence, whispers spread around the room, filled with excitement and nervousness about being in the same school as Lady Sophia. The young boy proudly notes that she has already earned their respect, just as the exam is about to begin. With a soft smile, Sophia confesses to Cyril that it has always been her dream to spend her life at the academy with him. He is completely stunned by her heartfelt confession, and the paper in his hand crumbles as he stares at her in disbelief. The young butler tries to regain his composure by jokingly reminding Sophia that it's not the time for such things. As they are about to take an exam, she just smiles playfully at his reaction. Before they can continue their conversation, another student approaches, recognizing Sophia as the daughter of Marquis Rosenberg. He rudely confronts him, demanding to know who he is and stating that he will not tolerate their discourtesy. But Sophia calmly stops him, reminding him of the Academy's rules. With a subtle wink, she explains to Cyril that for two people to truly be on equal ground, the person of higher status must first grant their approval. Her maid, Ruth, is amazed by their sophisticated behavior. Sophia turns to the boy and asks for his name and what business he has with her. He confidently introduces himself as Raymond. To Cyril's surprise, Raymond boldly announces that he intends to become her personal butler right here and now. Sophia looks thoughtfully at Cyril, her current butler, before telling Raymond that she is not in a position to make such a decision. Raymond quickly clarifies that he wishes to be appointed as her personal butler, specifically for their time at the academy. Cyril explains to a curious Sophia that students in the servant courses often serve noble students as part of their curriculum. Raymond confidently states that he understands her position and then proposes a challenge. Sophia firmly cuts him off, declaring her loyalty. Cyril is the only personal butler she will ever need. Raymond recognizes Cyril's name, having heard rumors of the exceptionally talented butler who began serving at the age of 6. Sophia proudly confirms that Cyril is indeed her most exceptional butler. Raymond scoffs at the idea that a sheltered boy like Cyril could be better than him and vows to prove his superiority. Raymond formally requests that if he proves himself superior, she must appoint him as her new personal butler. Sophia calmly agrees to his challenge, stating that she will appoint him as her butler if she deems him to be better for the job. This makes Raymond grin. Raymond gives Cyril a smug and challenging look. As he walks past Cyril, he confidently states that he will use this exam to prove once and for all that he is the one best suited to be her personal butler. Ruth whispers her concern to Sophia about the promise she just made. The young boy advises her to consider the exact words his lady used. He explains to the maid that Sophia's promise was cleverly worded to rest on her own subjective opinion of who is better, not just on the test results. This means she was never in any danger of having to replace him. Sophia admits with a pout that listening to Raymond misbehaving with Cyril has thoroughly soured her mood. He agrees, finding it irritating that Raymond would imply she is a poor judge of character. Sophia tells Cyril that it is now up to him to prove Raymond wrong. With a dazzling and confident smile, she commands him to show Raymond and the entire academy that her butler is the best in the world. He accepts her challenge with a determined grin, ready to prove his worth. Ruth is shocked by Sophia's command, realizing it means Cyril must score incredibly high on the entrance exam to prove his greatness to the entire academy. She wonders aloud if that's even possible for him, but Cyril confidently reassures her that it is, while internally reflecting that his knowledge from a past life's magic academy makes the written test easy. Cyril explains that the student with the highest exam score becomes the new student representative, and if he performs well, he might even take that position from her. With a charming smile, Sophia tells him she has no interest in a position given out of pity and encourages him not to hold back. An announcer declares that the exam will begin in 10 minutes, and as Sophia urges Cyril to go, she looks ready for the challenge ahead. He understands that while his wish is for his lady to take the top spot, her true desire is for him to perform at his absolute best. So he instructs Ruth to wait for them outside. As they sit down for the written portion of the exam, Cyril realizes that intentionally holding back to let Sophia win it would go against her wishes. With a determined smile, the exam begins, and Cyril picks up his pen, ready to face the challenge she has set for him. During the practical violin exam, Sophia introduces herself as examinee number 16 and gives Cyril a playful, challenging glance. She plays the violin beautifully and effortlessly, her calm expression showing her mastery. When she finishes with a graceful flourish, she politely thanks the examiners. They applaud enthusiastically, and Cyril rushes over to congratulate her, playfully ruffling her hair. She winks and tells him he doesn't need to watch over her during the exam, but he insists he is her loyal, exclusive butler. When examinee number 17 is called, Cyril borrows a violin from another student. Confident he will ace the written exam to make up for this, he introduces himself and takes his place, knowing the violin test will be his toughest challenge. As he plays for the stern examiners, he admits to himself that, while he has the technical skills, he lacks natural musical talent. His performance is harsh and screechy, making the examiners wince. Suddenly, one of the violin strings snaps with a loud twang, shocking everyone in the room. An examiner jumps to his feet in alarm and shouts that the string has broken. Cyril stays surprisingly calm even though his E string snaps during a critical part of the song. Thinking quickly, he switches to playing the A string, leaving the examiners completely surprised. Despite the unexpected turn, they applaud him, praising not only his technical skill but also his ability to stay composed under pressure. Sophia pouts playfully, claiming she thought she had finally won the violin exam. She jokingly calls his success cheating, while Cyril humbly says it was just luck. After the dance portion, he compliments Sophia on her beautiful performance with her senior partner. She thanks him, but gives all the credit to her partner. Cyril notices that the senior partners seem to share a similar rhythm, and Sophia's partner was a perfect match for her, making the dance look effortless. Sophia seems intrigued that her partner was similar to him, but then teasingly says that at this rate, she might actually beat him in the overall score. When it's Cyril's turn, he notices his assigned partner, a pale girl named Foal, seems very nervous. He politely introduces himself to Foal, and she shyly returns the greeting. They begin to dance together, and he expertly leads her through a series of complex and graceful turns. He is impressed by her ability to follow his lead perfectly and realizes she must be a very skilled dancer. He is puzzled by her talent, wondering why such a qualified individual never appeared in the original game. Foal teases him for being distracted, smiling sweetly. She remarks that while the rumored Sophia is impressive, Cyril himself is quite something, and asks if he was the one who taught Sophia how to dance. He asks her why she thinks that, and she explains that she gets the feeling that she and Cyril are the same. This triggers a shocking realization in him. With a confident smile, Foal suddenly takes the lead in their dance, pulling him into a new sequence of steps and leaving him utterly stunned. The examiners look on confused as they witness the shift in the dance's lead. Cyril is momentarily panicked, realizing he needs to regain control to avoid a bad score, but then decides against it after a glance at Sophia's hopeful face. Foal is surprised that Cyril has stopped resisting her lead. She reminds him that the man is supposed to lead and that he might get a bad score, but he says he has a different idea of what leading truly means. She asks him what his idea is, and she seems taken aback by the question. Cyril knows that to guide his lady away from her dark fate, he cannot simply lead her by the hand down a path he chooses. He must be prepared to walk with her, even if she chooses a path covered in thorns. His true duty as a butler, he decides, is to make his partner shine. And so, he tells Foal that if she intends to lead, he will follow her completely. He asks her to let him help her shine even more brightly, even if it means bending the rules of logic itself. Foal looks at him in surprise, then apologizes for testing him, and offers to hand over the lead back to him. She spins away gracefully, and Cyril accepts her offer as he prepares to resume the lead. His eyes widen in shock as he processes the incredible exchange that just occurred. Foal's movements become a dazzling display of skill far beyond what he could have imagined. Cyril quickly explains to the concerned examiners that the young lady has fainted, and he is only trying to protect her from the fall. The examiner expresses her concern, and Cyril reassures her that the girl isn't hurt, but suggests that her personal maid or butler should be called. A maid rushes to the girl's side, calling her Lady Pamela, as she gently tries to wake her. The maid introduces herself and agrees to take her mistress to the infirmary after Cyril notes that Pamela is still breathing and seems conscious, despite her pale appearance. Pamela's maid thanks Cyril for his help and promises to express her gratitude later. Cyril apologizes to the examiner for interrupting the test and requests that the other students be given a chance to retake it. The examiner kindly agrees to a retest, but he says he gave up his right to a retake because he abandoned his partner during the dance. The examiner looks at Cyril with a mixture of surprise and admiration for his strong sense of responsibility. She agrees to his terms, but decides to only have his score as a penalty. Foal apologizes to Cyril for the trouble she caused. She tells him that she doesn't think what he did was rude at all and expresses her disappointment that they couldn't finish their dance together. With a final wink and a hopeful wish that he passes the exam without any trouble, Foal leaves Cyril standing alone in the hallway. Sophia approaches him, and he immediately apologizes for failing to give his best performance as he had promised. She asks if he thinks she is there to scold him and gently tells him to raise his head. Sophia pouts playfully, showing her disappointment in Cyril. With a knowing smile, she points out that while he did his best, he also intentionally used the interruption to lower his own score. He tries to show ignorance, but it's clear she has seen right through his plan. A few days later, while waiting for the exam results, Sophia suggests they check on the scores. Even though it usually takes several weeks for them to be posted, they head to the results board, where a crowd has already gathered. One student explains that he saw the examiners himself and understands why the scores are already available. Cyril is not surprised to see the crowd, and they make their way to the front, where they see that Sophia has achieved perfect scores in all her practical exams. Sophia points out his score, but Cyril is more focused on hers until she redirects his attention to his own shockingly low result. He is stunned to see that his dance score is only 51, and he remembers the examiner's promise to have the penalty applied. He is equally shocked to realize that without the penalty, his score would have been an incredible 102, easily surpassing Sophia's perfect score. Cyril apologizes to her for tarnishing her ideal record with his own low score. Raymond approaches and calls out to Sophia, holding a letter containing his own exam scores, ready to make his case for becoming her butler. He politely intercepts the letter, insisting on checking it for any potential danger before handing it over to Sophia. Sophia is impressed by Raymond's high scores, and Cyril acknowledges that based on previous years, his scores would likely be enough to earn him the top spot. He also admits that Raymond is talented enough to be considered for a butler position, though he has no intention of letting him take his place. Sophia congratulates Raymond on his perfect scores in all the practical exams, but he humbly insists that he is no match for her. Cyril mentions his dance score of 51, and Raymond bursts into laughter, mocking him for having the audacity to serve as Sophia's butler with such a pitiful score. Other students who witnessed the incident try to explain his low score, but Raymond dismisses their attempts to defend him. Cyril calmly concedes that in terms of their dance scores, Raymond is the clear winner. Raymond is surprised by Cyril's unexpectedly gracious response, and he smiles, telling him that he has no intention of giving up his position as Sophia's personal butler. With a look of fierce determination, Raymond declares that he will take the position from Cyril within 1 year. A few weeks later, their official admission notices arrive, and Sophia playfully sticks her tongue out at Cyril, who is still lamenting his 49-point deduction. She achieved near-perfect scores in all her subjects, securing the top seat with only a single point away from perfection. The scene shifts to a maid gently brushing Sophia's hair as she sits peacefully in her room. After that, Cyril and Sophia ride in a carriage to a clothing store to have his academy uniform tailored. The school's rule of equal treatment for all students, regardless of social status, is still in effect, even for this social studies assignment, which requires Sophia to visit a common shop. Cyril reaches out his hand to help Sophia out of the carriage, but she just continues to hold it as they walk. He nervously points out that she is still holding his hand. Sophia blushes and asks if it's a problem, while he explains that his role as her butler doesn't automatically make him her escort. A disagreement erupts in the shop as a nobleman berates the owner for not having his son's uniform ready in time for the academy's entrance ceremony. Cyril and Sophia observe the scene from the entrance. Cyril notes disappointingly that the nobleman's servant did not make a reservation in advance and wonders whether it's the family's policy to let their children handle such matters themselves. A shop attendant warmly welcomes them, and Cyril encourages Sophia to take the lead in this hands-on learning experience. The nobleman's son angrily calls out to the attendant, noticing her attention shifting to the new customers. He demands to know why they can get a uniform made when his own request was denied. The attendant calmly explains that Cyril and Sophia had made a reservation. The boy's butler tries to restrain him, but he angrily insists on his status as the son of Count Green. Sophia quietly asks him to make them stop. With a confident smile, Sophia steps forward and tells the boy to refrain from such behavior, as power should not be positioned without a good reason. The boy is initially stunned into silence by her radiant and commanding presence. His attendant quickly whispers in his ear, revealing that the young lady is none other than Sophia, the daughter of a powerful marquis. The boy and his attendant immediately bowed an apology, begging for forgiveness for their rude behavior. As Sophia tells them to wait, Cyril explains that he has reserved 2 sets of uniforms for himself and 3 for his lady. Sophia then graciously offers one of her reserved sets to the stunned boy. The boy gratefully accepts her offer, as Sophia explains that the extra set is just a spare and not essential for the entrance ceremony. Cyril realizes that the boy's family had likely already prepared his uniform, and this whole situation was just a test of his character. The boy now owes Sophia a favor, and his butlers and the shop attendant's calm demeanor throughout the ordeal suddenly makes perfect sense. Sophia asks the shop attendant if she can make the uniform for him. and Cyril privately considers the possibility that she knowingly created this situation to put the boy in her debt. The attendant leads Sophia to the fitting room for measurements, and she says a brief farewell to Cyril. As she enters the fitting room, she is surprised to see Alicia, the heroine from the Otome game. Alicia apologizes for not recognizing her sooner and explains that she remembers seeing her dance at the prince's birthday party, where she felt like a clumsy burden to her own partner. Sophia reassures her that she looked very nice, and Alicia credits her wonderful partner for making their dance so magnificent. Sophia's expression hardens slightly as she replies, and the tailor asks Cyril to check the sleeves of the uniform they're working on. He strikes up a conversation with the tailor and learns that Alicia is also a freshman at the academy. He begins to hope that she and Sophia might become friends. Later, back in the carriage with their new uniforms, Sophia feels that their enrollment at the academy is finally becoming real. Cyril agrees, noting that he knows he has a lot of work ahead of him to support his lady's daily life and somehow repair her relationship with the second prince. However, he reminds himself that the most important thing is to ensure that Sophia genuinely enjoys her time at the academy. As they talk, Sophia suddenly asks him why he's staring at her face. Their carriage comes to an abrupt halt, and Cyril instinctively pulls Sophia into his arms to protect her. The driver apologizes, explaining that some children suddenly jumped out in front of them. Cyril's expression darkens as he hears the word children and senses that something is wrong. He instructs Sophia to remain in the carriage for her safety and steps out to assess the situation. He notices two suspicious-looking men observing them from a distance. Cyril realizes that the children were used as a distraction to lure him out of the carriage, creating the perfect opportunity for an attack. He approaches the frightened children and asks if they are all right. They defensively ask if he's an enemy. Cyril calmly replies that he is not their enemy, and the children ask if he is one of the people chasing them. He quickly realizes that the suspicious men are not targeting him and Sophia, but are actually after the two children. He asks the children why they are being chased, and the boy tearfully explains that his sister is in danger. He reveals that their parents sold his sister to the Dark Guild, and they are now running away from them. Cyril is shocked to learn they are from the slums, a dark and common setting in the world of the Otome game. He understands that just as the noble families represent the light, the Dark Guild and the slums represent the ever-present darkness. If this is a story event from the game, he knows he must handle it with extreme care because the Dark Guild was a key factor in his own fated ruin. Sophia calls out from the carriage, asking if the children are okay. The boy desperately pleads with Cyril to help them. Cyril realizes he can no longer pretend this is not his problem, but he tells Sophia that the decision on whether or not to help them is ultimately up to her. Sophia looks at Cyril with confusion, and he explains that as the daughter of a marquise, she must learn to accept the harsh realities of her world. He tells her that sometimes a leader must sacrifice the few to save the many. While sleeping, these two children is a noble act. It is ultimately just a drop in the ocean of suffering in their country. He bluntly calls the act of saving them a form of hypocrisy, as it risks the safety of everyone for the sake of two individuals and serves only to satisfy their own sense of righteousness. The boy begs them to save his sister, pleading that the kind lady must be able to help them. His desperate plea hangs in the air, urging them to act. With a determined look in her eyes, Sophia makes her decision. She asks Cyril to help them. She acknowledges that her actions may be hypocritical and conceited, but she cannot simply look away when she has the power to save someone within her reach. She then reminds him of his own words, telling him that if her words have the power to decide, then she is deciding to help. He is taken aback by her newfound resolve, seeing that she is no longer the young girl who blindly followed his lead. With a proud smile, he bows to her and accepts her command. He turns to the children and, in the name of his lady, promises to protect them. The girl finally speaks her brother's name in relief, and he embraces her happily. Cyril knows that by helping them, he is essentially stealing from the powerful and dangerous Dark Guild, something he cannot afford to leave unresolved. He decides that he must pay a visit to the Dark Guild's headquarters in the slums. A few hours later, two boys discuss the strange events of the day, noting that a high-ranking noble took two slum kids home with her. One of the boys, a blonde-haired youth with a confident smirk, comments that her actions are almost too good to be true. His companion suggests it could be a trap, but the first boy dismisses the idea with a casual shrug. The blonde boy closes a pocket watch and declares that they must discover her true intentions, because if she is genuinely on the commoner's side, they must win her over before the elites do. He looks out the window with a determined expression, ready to see what comes next. A new character, Libert, one of the game's capture targets, is introduced. He looks out with a confident smile, promising to see Sophia Rosenberg in school soon. Cyril stands in the heart of the slums, where he knows a dark guild base must be nearby. He hears the hushed whispers of the locals as they watch him with suspicion. A shadowy figure in a fedora warns Cyril that this is no place for a young boy and advises him to leave before he gets into trouble. He confidently introduces himself as a butler from the esteemed Rosenberg house and explains that he has come to discuss the recent case involving the two siblings. The man scoffs at the idea of negotiating with a child, but Cyril calmly counters that if he wishes to speak with his very busy lady, he must come to the mansion. With a smile, Cyril reminds the man that just as he is a representative, so too should his own leader come alone. The man reluctantly agrees and leads Cyril to a nearby building, remarking that he truly is just a young boy. He finds himself face to face with No Name, the intimidating guildmaster, who sits with a woman on his lap and confirms that he already knows why the young butler is here. Cyril isn't surprised by the guildmaster's polite attitude. He quickly realizes that the muscular man in front of him is just a body double, while the real No Name stands quietly behind him. He recalls from the game that No Name is a former noble who was stripped of his status after being framed. Now, he leads a life of thievery and harbors a deep hatred for the powerful nobles who wronged him. Cyril is confident that as long as he can make No Name understand his argument, they can avoid any unnecessary conflict. A woman from the guild approaches Cyril and playfully offers to take care of him until he gets back home. Cyril politely declines her advances and gets straight to the point, asking if there is any chance of them returning the girl who ran away. He clarifies that he has no intention of interfering with their human trafficking business, but his lady has already promised to take care of the girl, so returning her is not an option. Cyril places a stack of coins on the table and offers to buy the girl's freedom, understanding that the guild currently holds the rights to her. He clarifies that he is not actually buying her, but rather politely asking for the right to have her transferred to them. The guild members are amused by his attempt at negotiation, and one of the women examines the single gold coin he has offered. No Name understands Cyril's intention, but refuses the offer. The guildmaster then makes a counteroffer of 30 gold coins, shocking him and the woman beside him. Cyril calmly accepts the offer without hesitation, and the guildmaster slams the coins down on the table in a show of power. As the coins are being counted, No Name quietly asks Cyril what they plan to do with the siblings. The body double explains that human trafficking is an essential part of the slum economy, and they cannot simply let the siblings go for such an outrageous price. Cyril interrupts their conversation and proposes a new plan: to raise the siblings as loyal servants of the Rosenberg house, ensuring they will never betray his lady. No Name agrees to the deal, but as Cyril is about to leave, he stops him with one final question. He asks if Cyril plans to save the children while abandoning their parents, who still have outstanding debts. Cyril confidently explains that his previous statement about raising them as loyal servants was meant to imply that their parents' debts would also be paid. He looks at No Name with a challenging gaze and asks if he had expected too much from him. The real Nameless looks at Cyril with a new level of respect, while the body double glares at him with renewed intensity. The body double violently slams his hand on the table, furiously demanding to know how a young boy dared to speak to him in such a manner. As the bald man expresses his anger, the real No Name places a restraining hand on his shoulder, causing the man to look back in surprise. The body double tells Cyril that they will accept the deal, his irritated expression clearly showing his displeasure with the arrangement. Cyril smiles warmly and thanks them, expressing his sincere belief that they will enjoy a lasting and prosperous relationship from this day forward. From an unseen location, a voice comments on the encounter, remarking with amusement that Cyril is a cheeky and audacious brat. Afterward, the group discusses their impressions of him with the woman, who remarks that he was rather cute. At the same time, the body double in the hat observes that the boy completely ignored her, which he sees as a positive sign that a charm doesn't easily sway Cyril. The body double reflects on the deal, admitting that while it mostly went according to their plan, he had a moment of panic when he first heard that a noble had taken the children, but he is now relieved that they have successfully gained a connection to a powerful marquis. The real No Name agrees with this assessment but introduces a crucial point. They overlooked something important. Children never forget their parents and can be easily won back with a show of parental love. No Name also notes that the boy had 30 gold coins ready for payment. With a sudden, chilling realization, the real No Name announces that Cyril saw through their entire plan from the start, understanding that the children's parents were the key. A diagram shows the Dark Guild's original scheme. They planned to use the parents' debt to force the children to spy on the Rosenbergs, but Cyril destroyed their plan by paying off the debt with 30 gold coins, removing their leverage and creating a direct benefit for himself. The body double scoffs at Cyril, calling him a naive brat and claiming that if things don't go their way, they can simply break the deal, something that would ruin him. However, the real no-name disagrees with this simplistic view, countering that if Cyril were just a normal kid, it would be that simple. But the look in his eyes suggests he can see right through them. He further explains that Cyril is a monster wearing a child's skin, evidenced by his bold declaration that he would raise the children to be completely loyal servants. An unnerving confidence that they would never betray the Rosenberg family, even if the guild used their parents as leverage. The body double is struck with a sudden, shocking realization as the real no-name confirms Cyril's interpretation. He processes the fact that this means there is no longer any reason for them to take the parents. The group tries to understand the new circumstances, with a woman admitting she has no idea what is happening. The real no-name explains Cyril's true message. He wants them to make sure the parents live to see their children again, rather than punishing bad parents as expected. Adjusting his glasses with a knowing smile, No-Name says he respects Cyril for understanding the dark side of their country and adds that they will get along for a long time. The scene shifts, offering a brief glimpse of the rooftops of a poor and struggling district. Then, the setting changes dramatically to the grand entrance hall of the Lanbel Royal Academy. Cyril, now dressed in a school uniform, stands and decides his preparations are good enough for the entrance ceremony. He places a hand over his heart and reaffirms his purpose, noting that while the path here wasn't easy, his academic life is finally starting, and it's time to devote himself fully to supporting his lady. He looks up the grand staircase towards Sophia, who is waiting for him. He acknowledges her presence, stating that he has been waiting for her. Sophia looks down at him, blushing, and shyly asks for his opinion on how she looks in her dress. Cyril responds with a poetic compliment, telling her that any person who saw her would surely question the rumors about a certain saint who graced the ballroom. He explains that her beauty surpasses even that of legends. Sophia, however, presses him further, her face flushed, making it clear that she is not asking about what other people might think. She specifically wants to hear his personal opinion. Cyril's opinion, understanding that, for someone in her position, simple flattery might seem meaningless. He thoughtfully observes that no one is looking, then points out that her hair is a bit messy. He then closes the distance between them and pulls her into a gentle, reassuring hug, whispering into her ear that there is absolutely no way his lady, the one he has raised, wouldn't be cute. Completely flustered and blushing deeply, Sophia can only stammer his name. Cyril smiles and playfully brings a finger to his lips, telling her that what he just said is a secret between them. A radiant and happy Sophia quickly agrees to his request, and Cyril then asks if he may have the honor of escorting his lady to her carriage. Cyril formally takes her hand in his, and together they turn and walk toward their destination, ready to begin their new life at Lanbel Royal Academy. The Academy's headmaster opens the entrance ceremony with a warm welcome for the new students who passed the tough exams. The student representative steps forward and greets Sophia on stage, praising her hard work. The long-awaited ceremony at Lanbel Royal Academy officially begins. Cyril thinks that his academy life is finally starting, but there's no time to celebrate. The students whisper, surprised that the freshman representative is the Marquise's daughter rather than one of the elite children. Cyril knows he must do everything he can to keep her safe and ensure she has a peaceful academy life. To do this, he must navigate the two opposing factions: the elitists, who favor nobles, and the populists, who seek equality. He recalls a game route where Sophia became a radical elitist after harassment from her maid and was ultimately executed by her own faction. He realizes that staying neutral is the safest way to protect her. His second challenge is solving the problem of his position, as he's standing in for the prince. Originally, Sophia was supposed to be in love with the second prince, but Cyril is relieved that the heroine won't enroll for another 3 years. He listens as Sophia, the freshman representative, begins her speech, confident in her abilities because she is naturally talented and he has already helped her prepare. With a bright smile, Sophia begins her speech by stating that originally she should not be the one standing on the stage. It leaves Cyril stunned. She speaks of her lonely and miserable childhood, believing her parents didn't love her, and being constantly harassed by her maids. This shocks and confuses Cyril, who wonders what she is saying. She then reveals that it was thanks to a kind person who reached out to her and taught her countless things that she can stand here today. More importantly, she realized that her parents truly did love her. She concludes her speech by promising to do her best as a substitute for the person who truly deserves this honor, which earns her the crowd's admiration. Cyril grimaces as he realizes that her emotionally charged speech has turned into a chaotic mess that could be misinterpreted as a declaration against the commoners. the teacher announces that the students will now head to their designated classrooms. He finds himself in Class 1A of the servant course, where a paper fan immediately hits him. A boy scolds him for staring at a girl he just met with jealousy. Another girl apologizes for his behavior, explaining that he is just jealous of Cyril's good grades. The boy introduces himself as Luke and the girl as Chloe, both of whom are in the servant course. Cyril politely returns their greeting. They all take their seats, and the teacher begins the class.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.